I still remember the night I met Leif Thorson, the man who lost his shadow. It was a winter unlike any other in our village of Skarvik, where the fjords ran deep and the pine forests whispered secrets to the wind. The elders say that when the north wind howls like a wolf at the door, it is best to stay inside and keep the fire burning. That night, the wind howled, and yet I found myself outside, walking toward the frozen lake with nothing but my lantern and my thick, swollen cloak. Leif had always been a peculiar man. A fisherman by trade, he knew the sea better than anyone, reading the waves like others read runes. But he never spoke much, and he never joined the rest of us when we gathered in the longhouse for ale and stories. There was a rumor that he had once been lost at sea for 3 days and returned different. No one knew how he had survived, nor did he ever speak of it. I saw him that night by the lake, standing motionless, his breath a mist in the air. But something was wrong. The moon was high, and yet the ice beneath him was bare. No shadow stretched out behind him, no dark shape followed his movements. "Leif," I called, my voice barely carrying over the wind. "What are you doing out here?" He turned slowly, his face pale, eyes darker than I remembered. "Looking for something," he said. "For what?" He hesitated, then gestured to the ice. "For myself." A chill ran down my spine that had nothing to do with the cold. "Leif, you're—" "I know," he interrupted. "I lost it. My shadow." I would have laughed if not for the way he looked at me, like a man who had seen something he was never meant to see. He told me then, in a hushed voice, what had happened. Years ago, when he was lost at sea, the storm had taken him far beyond the reach of our maps. He drifted for days, thirsting, starving, until he saw land, a jagged black rock rising from the water. With the last of his strength, he rowed toward it, though every instinct in his body screamed for him to turn back. There was no sun there, he said. No moon, no stars, just a sky that swallowed all light. He found shelter in a cave and, exhausted, fell into a deep sleep. But when he woke, he was not alone. Shapes moved in the darkness, whispering, shifting, watching. They had no form, no faces, only voices, hollow and cold. "They told me," he whispered, "that I had crossed into their realm, and that every man who enters must leave something behind. Leif had begged to return home. The shapes agreed, but at a price. He could leave, but his shadow would stay. And so when he awoke, he was back in his boat, adrift at sea, his shadow left behind in the land of darkness. Ever since," he said, "I have felt incomplete. Shadows are not just the absence of light, they are part of us. Without mine, I feel nothing, no fear, no warmth, no love. Just emptiness." The wind howled louder and I shivered. "Why come here to the lake? Because the ice reflects the sky, and tonight when the moon is right, there's a path back, a way to reclaim what was taken." I wanted to stop him. I should have stopped him, but there was something in his eyes, a quiet desperation I could not understand. So I stood and watched as he stepped onto the ice. His reflection rippled beneath him, and for a moment I saw it, its shadow, dark and shifting, waiting for him beneath the frozen surface. Leif took one more step, and then he was gone. No splash, no sound, just the empty ice where he had stood. I ran forward, fell to my knees, pounded at the surface, but there was nothing beneath. Only the lake as smooth as glass, reflecting the moon above. They say that when the wind howls at night, it carries voices from the other side. And sometimes, if the moon is just right, you can see a lone figure walking across the ice, searching for something he lost long ago.